Thank you for coming and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about camera brands, particularly the camera brand that I use, which is Nikon. I've been shooting Nikon since I started photography, and basically I like the system. I've never had any real complaints, never enough to make me want to switch brands. And technology has gotten as good as it's gotten now. I think it's better than ever. So whether you use Nikon, Sony, Canon, Olympus, Fuji, any camera brand, you're gonna be able to make good pictures. When I got into photography, I asked somebody what they thought, a photographer of course, that I knew, what he thought was the best camera I should start with, and he recommended Nikon. At that time, to me, it was just Nikon and Canon. He suggested Nikon, I went and bought it, and that's kind of how it went. I could have done more research, but hey, I didn't. I just wanted something to take pictures with, and I got a Nikon. So anyway, I've learned the struggle over the course of years. I've learned how this kind of works and the difference in different brands and what they do. For a while, Nikon kind of struggled. There was a period there from, I'd say, maybe 2017 till maybe 22. There was a thing. If you watch a lot of YouTube, I watch a lot of videos talking about Nikon maybe falling behind. Sony really blew up. Canon blew up with their cameras, particularly when the mirrorless cameras started coming out. Nikon was a little slow with that, and I think it's safe to admit it. They were. I was using a D750, and Nikon D750. I was taking great pictures. But when I went into mirrorless and I bought a Z6, I wasn't really too happy. I liked the image quality, but I really wanted autofocus. I wanted something that gave me great autofocus. And the Z6 was good if you took pictures of, people standing still. But as soon as you had that subject moving around, it was a problem. I started shooting dancers around 2020, and dancers move, especially ballerinas. You're trying to get a shot, you have a ballerina jump up and down, and as soon as they start jumping, I would lose focus sometimes. It was tough. Now I did learn how to adjust because, Nikon didn't really have a mirrorless that could catch that, and I just wasn't investing in a D4 or D5. Because I knew mirrorless is where it was going, and I couldn't switch. I just wasn't going to switch to Sony or Canon. I really felt like Nikon would eventually come out with something that could, keep up with moving subjects. And they did. In 2022, they made the Z9. And before I go into the Z9, talking about the Z9, I will say, you can shoot dancers with a Z6 or a Nikon Z7. It's not impossible. You can shoot moving subjects. You can shoot sports. I've made some great pictures with the Z6, and even when I got the Z6II, because they did upgrade slowly, I was still able to, do some moving pictures without. I was able to get shots that I wanted. It was just harder, and I wanted my job to be easier. The way I saw Sony users and Canon users, it just seemed so easy. They point the camera and, the box would stay on the person's face and the eye, and it would just follow them wherever they went. I couldn't do that with the Nikon Z6 or the Z6II. So that was a little disappointing, but again, going back to what I was saying, I knew they were going to come out with something eventually. They were going to catch up, because if you don't catch up with the technology, you're eventually going to just go out of business. And I felt like Nikon just wasn't gonna happen. So they came out with the Nikon Z9, which is what I'm filming with now, and that was a great camera, is a great camera. I got it when it came out. I pre-ordered, and it took my photography to a level of ease that I was waiting for. I was able to get pictures. I was able to focus on my camera, focus on framing, and just watching my subject and not worrying about whether I was going to get a shot. Whether I was shooting at 2.8 or whether I was shooting at f1.4, I wasn't worried anymore. I was getting sharp pictures. So the Z9, I've been using that, and I always said, that's a great camera, but for a lot of photographers who were in the Nikon ecosystem, you didn't have a camera that was in an affordable price range. That the Nikon Z9 is $5,400, well, $5,500 really. And you know, it would have been nice for them to have a mid-price camera, something in that $2,000, $2,500 range that a professional could use, and they could, you know, get the same kind of quality and focus that you get on a Nikon Z9. Sony has that. Sony has an A1 that is, you know, 50 megapixels, and then they have the, you know, so many different cameras that are in that mid-range, the A7 III, the A7 IV. Canon has their R6, you know, that, you know, an R6 II that are in that 2,000, 2,500 range, that gives you that autofocus and that, you know, ability to just worry about taking your pictures and framing your subject and not having to always look. You can put a good lens in there, a nice sharp 1.4 lens, and not worry about, well, if I move a little bit, it's gonna be blurry, you know, and that's gonna be it. Nikon hadn't done it. You had to go Z9. They came out with the ZF, which finally had that processor that the Z9 had, but the ZF is really sort of it's a hard camera to hold all day. I wouldn't say it's a professional style grip body to use. Finally, Nikon came up with the Z6III, and it's the camera I'm holding in my hand, and I will tell you, this was what I was waiting for, and I think this is what Nikon users who are in the Nikon ecosystem need. This camera, 24 megapixels, which is great because sometimes those big megapixel cameras, the 45 megapixel cameras, are hard for your hard drive. The Z9 is a great camera, but when you're shooting a wedding, I will tell you, it's a lot of space. It's 2,000 and 3,000 pictures. I think 24 megapixels is just a sweet spot for photography. And you know, you could debate with me with that, but that's my opinion. So they finally came out with this, like I said, 24 megapixels. It shoots 6K video, not 8K, but 6K, which is really good. It also does the 4K 120, which gives you the slow motion. And although it's cropped, I don't think that's a problem. You put a 20mm lens in and you're shooting, that's cropped with the Z6III, that's 30mm, which is great for video. I don't think that's too tight when you're doing video. So, you know, hey, it's a slamming camera. 20 frames per second, raw photos, so you can do sports with it. I mean, I know, you know, other companies, and you can shoot 30 frames, you can shoot 120. With the Nikon, the Z9, you can shoot 120 frames. I've never used that. JPEG, whatever, because they say you could shoot it at JPEG. I've never used it. I shoot at 30 at the most, or 20, I should say, 20 at the most. And 20 is fine. 20 frames per second works. I don't miss shots. Somebody's jumping up and I'm shooting at 20 frames per second. I'm getting enough, trust me. So yeah, this camera is it. I took it to Los Angeles some time ago and I did some work there. I shot a ballerina, and so what I'm going to show you guys is how that came out. And you know, you'll see how it just really, it sticks to the subject. It sticks. It doesn't, I don't lose focus. Now listen, nothing is 100% perfect, but I got hella sharp pictures with no complaints. I was really happy with the work. The model was happy, and you know, we just kept it moving. 24 megapixels, some also might say, well, yeah, it's a great camera, but what if you're doing landscapes? Well, I took it to Joshua Tree, and I shot the Milky Way there, and I was good with it. No complaints. It came out great for me. I've also heard some issues that it has dynamic range problems. Hey, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to say, you know, I don't know what other people are doing in terms of their work. But for me, I shot Milky Way. I had no complaints. I shoot portraits with it, no complaints. I've done weddings with this camera. I've done, you know, events like Sweet 16s. I've done graduation shoots. And hey, like I said, this sucker works. And what I like, again, is that it has that Z9 focus. It stays on the subject and allows me to, you know, think of my framing and not worry about so much about the focus. It also has that little flippy screen thing. So if you want to vlog, if you're into recording yourself, you can. I'm kind of indifferent with this. this is the first camera. Well, the ZF, I have that, and it has a flippy screen, but it's just not a big thing for me. I can take it or leave it. But again, it's a great camera, and the biggest thing I'm gonna say is if you're in the Nikon ecosystem already, and you've been thinking about going into mirrorless, and you don't want to buy a Z9 or a Z8, you know, those are $4,000 and $5,500. You can get this. This is $24.99, and you're going to be good with this. You could build your base on one or two of these bodies and never need much for anything else. This kind of does everything. Grip is good. It feels great in the hands. So I wanted to make a video about it. I wanted to speak on it and just say, you know, if you're a pro photographer, you know, or a heavy enthusiast and you want something that you can carry around, go on vacation with, you want to do pro jobs with, Z6III, baby, this is definitely it. So watch the video that I have here, watch the footage and make a decision. Give me your thoughts on what you think about it. And thanks for watching. Take care, enjoy your day. Later, peace. So I'm here in Los Angeles with the Nikon Z6III, and I'm starting off with this ballerina. It's kind of, I'm not moving too much. I don't want her to go too crazy yet, but the one thing that you can see is how the camera's sticking right on her eye as she's doing these little dance moves. And none of these shots are coming out blurry or anything. Now here coming up, I have her do a little bit more. This is a hair whip. I could tell you with the Nikon Z6 or the Z6 II, I might have some problems doing this shot, but you can see the camera staying right on her head, and shots are coming out in focus. Now coming up here is an ultimate test for me. I do this a lot with the Z9 where I have my dancers running across the frame, and you can see it's staying right on her as she's moving. I'm shooting at continuous high speed, so I'm taking multiple shots and it's not budging. It's staying right on her face. I can just focus on her here. Here's another shot here, another hair whip from a different perspective, and you can see the camera locks right onto her right away. Nothing special with my focus, and it's staying right on her. As soon as her eye is exposed, the camera grabs right onto it and keeps the shots in focus. I was shooting high continuous shooting there. This last set here is of a dancer, fire dancer, I should say I'm shooting. It's nighttime in Los Angeles here. The only thing illuminating her is the fire that she has. It's pretty dark here. And the camera's sticking. I mean, this is pretty low light. You know, I imagine if you're doing an event, you know, a party or something, you're getting light similar to this, and it's sticking. You know, no complaints. I'm shooting at 1.8, so it's a wide aperture. I'm using a 50-1.8 here, so that's as wide as it gets. And no problems, man. She's moving. I'm taking pictures. Here are some of the results of the pictures that I shot, so you can see what I did here. Everything is sharp. You know, no complaints, man. But she's doing her hair whips. It's going good. And yeah, man, this is a great experience with this camera. Like I said, I recommend anyone who wants to stay in the Nikon ecosystem, go get it. Thanks for watching, guys. More work to come from me. Take care. Bye.